Hello and welcome to CCM's webinar about the global HFC phase-out with a deeper look at China's hydrofluorocarbon market, especially HCFC and HFC. This presentation will give you an overview on the current market situation in China, provide an outlook for the impact of the Montreal Protocol agreements, and demonstrates an opportunity for your own effective fluorochemicals market research in China. By my side is our market expert Rebecca, who is eager to give you her premium insights in China's industry.
Hello everyone.
I am Patrick from marketing and I am very happy to guide you through today's webinar. Please remember during the presentation we are not able to see and answer any questions, but please still write them down in the chat box so we can gather them after the presentation and then give you the answer accordingly. Before we start, let me give you a brief structure of the presentation today. Rebecca will start telling about the Kigali Amendment and HFC phase down. We will then have a look at the market situation of HFC in China. This will lead us to the impact of the phase down on China's market, and the presentation ends with a look at the global impacts of the ban. By the way, for further information on China's fluorochemicals market, we can recommend you to have a look at CCM's monthly newsletter or the recent published reports about the fluoride market in China. CCM also offers the market data of price, production, consumption, and many more indexes for fluorine chemicals. So, without further delay, let's go into the topic. With the ratification of Sweden and Trinidad and Tobago, 21 parties, including China, have ratified the Kigali Amendment in the beginning of December. As a result, the participating countries confirmed to phase down the production and consumption of HFCs, which show negative effects on climate change and global warming. The Kigali Amendment is part of the Montreal Protocol, which guides the international community to fight against climate change. The new amendment will come into effect on January 1st, 2019, since more than 20 members have ratified it so far. However, a recent survey of retailers has revealed that 40% of the questions are not fully aware of the regulatory changes, even with the signs are strongly present given the huge increases in refrigerant prices worldwide and the next year's widely publicized 37% cut in HFC's availability. To get everyone on the same level, what can you tell us about the Kigali Amendment in the Montreal Protocol regarding the global HFC production, Rebecca?
The Kigali Amendment was agreed on back in October 2016 by the 197 parties of the Montreal Protocol in order to reduce global production as well as consumption of harmful HFCs. According to the deal, the world economies are divided into three categories, each with a personalized target for the phase-down date. The richest and most developed countries, like the USA or European states, are urged to reduce the production and consumption of HFCs from 2019 ongoing. The other groups are mainly divided by their climate situation and economic growth, which determines the resulting need for effective refrigerants like HFCs. Developing countries with lower average temperatures, like China and Brazil, will cut the use of HFC by 2024. Desert states and other developing countries like Bahrain, India, Iran, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates will start their consumption quit by 2028. The special rules for countries like India can be justified that it is a country that expects significant growth and has far lower penetration of air conditioning equipment than China, for example. So, there is a different treatment to let some developing countries have some more space to operate and adjust their industry. Developing countries also have the chance to reduce funding from the multilateral fund to facilitate compliance with the protocol's provisions. So, why are HFCs going to be banned? HFCs are artificial chemicals that are primarily used in the air conditioning, refrigeration, and farm insulation. They have become infamous for being powerful greenhouse gases that can be thousands of times more potent than carbon dioxide in contributing to climate change and ozone layer destroying. Coolants and refrigerants, where HFCs are counted to, were discovered to be very toxic about 100 years ago, causing severe health complications to humans and the ozone layer. The ozone layer is the natural shield against the sun's harmful ultraviolet rays, which can cause severe health risks such as skin cancers. This damage to the ozone layer promoted governments to promote an environmental agreement to govern the production and use of harmful substances that damage the ozone.
Great. Thank you for briefing us about the Montreal Protocol and the situation of HFC. Now, after hearing about this, may you now explain the market trend of HFC in China for us?
Well, according to our market research, the fluorochemical industry in general is one of the fastest growing and promising industries in China's chemical market. The situation is backed up with the fact that China has the worldwide largest fluorine reserves, able to meet the domestic and global growing demand for fluorochemicals. To be more precise, China produces over 60% of the world's HFCs. Under the Montreal Protocol, it began a few years ago that China started reducing production of HCFCs in favor of HFCs, a process that could take until 2040. In other words, China now has 20 years to phase out two generations of refrigerants. Furthermore, China manufactures 70 to 80% of the world's air conditioners and refrigerators and is a major driver of the global marketplace. The HFC phase down is hitting the country hard. Looking back, HFCs have made solid progress in the Chinese market as substitutes for HCFCs. For example, HFC 144A currently dominates the local air conditioner market. HFC 410A use has almost surpassed that of HCFCs in domestic air conditioners. And HFCs also have a significant presence in the foaming agents and detergents markets in China. However, severe overcapacity has made life increasingly difficult for producers. In the HFC 144A industry, for example, operating rates have fallen over 30% since 2012 and are currently under 50%, while prices have fallen by 300% over the same period, according to CCM's research. While HFC is used in various downstream industries such as thermometer, extinguishers, insecticides, medical, and chemicals, the refrigerants industry is by far the largest consumption area in China. During the last 3 decades, HFCs have developed to be the main refrigerants in worldwide use, besides the similar chemical HCFCs and HCs. At present, the main fluorine refrigerants in China include HCFC 22, HFC 134A, HFC 32, HFC 125, and HFC 410A. Of them, HCFC 22 is still by far the major refrigerant in China. The big problem here for the industry is that, due to the elimination of HCFCs according to the Montreal Protocol, the production of HCFC 22 has been restricted and its consumption as a refrigerant has been decreasing. HFC has been seen as the best alternative for HCFCs in China in the past, as they have good performance and are cleaner than other substitutes. For example, the first substitute for manufacturers has been the less harmful refrigerant HFC 410A. However, this one cannot be the final alternative, because HFC 410A still contains fluorine atoms and will be banned as an HFC chemical soon. Therefore, Chinese refrigerant enterprises have been actively looking for safer and more environmental friendly refrigerants. It's estimated that more lower fluorine and preferable non-fluorine refrigerants will come out in the coming few years in China. Let's have a brief market review of the last years in China fluorine refrigerant market. For a detailed analysis on this topic, please have a look at CCM's new report, Survey of Fluorochemicals in China, Edition 3. From 2013 to 2015, the domestic fluorine refrigerant industry in China ran smoothly and steadily, but there was overcapacity in the market. Besides, the prices of refrigerants were fluctuating, but in general decreasing, due to two main reasons. Firstly, the demand for refrigerants was sluggish in that period. From 2013 to 2015, the growth rate of domestic air conditioners and automobiles had slowed down. Secondly, there was huge supply in the refrigerant market. Despite the low demand, the output of refrigerants had been rising constantly. According to CCM's research, China's output of HFC 134A, HFC 125, and HFC 32 surged by 17.65%, 20%, and 63.64% year-on-year in 2015. In addition, according to the Ministry of Environmental Protection, the output of HCFCs in China should have been cut by 10% in 2015 based on the level of 2013. However, the previous focus of rising HCFCs prices, which brought about by tight supply, failed to come in 2015. Looking at the price development of major fluorochemicals in China, in 2015, the prices fell on the whole in general, but began to rebound in early 2016. The main reason is that the market growth of automobiles and household appliances, the two major downstream application areas of refrigerants, were significant in China from 2016 on. As a result, rising sales of the air conditioner industry had rapidly recovered the demand for refrigerants. To sum it all up, China is the largest country in consumption as well as production and export of HCFCs and HFCs. Hence, the phase down of these chemicals is an ongoing task for the country. It is even more difficult since manufacturers are still lagging behind international competitors when it comes to the research and development of new and safe refrigerants.
Okay, but that doesn't mean that the task is unachievable for China, right? As far as I remember, the Middle Kingdom has already eliminated CFCs back in the year 2007, which was even 3 years ahead of the deadline that was stated in the Montreal Protocol. Surely we have to see if the country can show the same pace, efforts, and progress in the elimination of fluorohydrocarbons in the coming years ahead, right?
The main problem of the development is that significant demand growth for automobiles and household appliances adds pressures on the refrigerants industry, as more refrigerants are needed as substrate material. To meet this surging demand but fit to the growth of the Montreal Protocol and Kigali Amendment, China's producers have to definitely speed up the research and development in new safety refrigerants.
So, why don't you explain the effect of the phase down on China's fluorochemicals and on the downstream markets like refrigerants?
Sure. CCM's researchers think that the Kigali Amendment will positively influence China's refrigeration industry, accelerating the application of safer, greener, and more efficient refrigerants, which are urgently needed for a healthy development. Though China remains the world's largest contributor to global emissions, Beijing is adding non-fossil fuel electricity generation capacity at a furious pace. Combining this with the impressive growth of the largest market for AEVs in the world, the government shows its commitment to cleaner economy and hence an improvement of refrigerants promoted by officials is likely happening in the country soon. With the Kigali Amendment, manufacturers of refrigerants are now urged to start researching and producing alternative substitutes that are less harmful to the climate. This has a significant effect on China, which is the largest producer and consumer of HFCs worldwide, with the technology still lagging behind international competition. Improvements in efficiency would also bring many other advantages, including reduced air pollution and improved public health, which is a huge problem in China. Looking at the fact that big cities are suffering part of the worst air pollution. It is also positive for the end consumers since they would save money because energy usage typically makes up by far the highest impact and costs of an air conditioner. To give a more plausible example, moving to the climate-friendly refrigerants and boosting the energy efficiency of cooling technology in China could save as much energy as would be produced by eight of the giant St. George hydroelectric dams. China, as well as other countries, have several choices of HFC replacements. For example, the largest refrigerants, which represent a considerate alternative to HFCs and are already entering the market, are HFO refrigerants. These have the characteristic of low toxicity, zero ozone depletion potential, and no global warming potential, but still keep similar pressures to, for example, HFC 134A. China's manufacturers will not only rely on one or two replacements for the popular refrigerants. It is much more likely that the domestic consumption patterns of refrigerants will be much more diversified in the future. Domestically, at China's 27th International Refrigeration Expo organized by China's Refrigeration and Air Conditioning Industry Association, many products were on exhibition that use natural or low GWP alternatives. Green, Haier, and other companies showcased their Hydrocarbon R290 air conditioners, while other features carbon dioxide heat pumps. Haier also launched its first invert R290 air conditioner at the expo. With the further implementation of environmental policies in China, the number of domestic HCFC manufacturers is already constantly decreasing, while that of domestic HFC manufacturers is still increasing at the moment, as HFCs seem to be the best replacement for HCFCs. With the expiration of many large enterprises' refrigerant patents, the number of domestic refrigerant manufacturers grows steadily at the current level and the gross margins of refrigerants will fall. Under the premise of environmental protection, the replacement process of current foreign refrigerants will be accelerated. The demand for new environmental-friendly foreign refrigerants will soar with the all air conditioners and refrigerators to be gradually eliminated. The manufacturers of CFCs, HCFCs, and HFCs are producing a range of new fluorinated chemicals with GWP from 3 to 1,500 as permanent and interim replacement to HFCs, which need to be replaced again. However, leapfrogging HFCs and HFC blends and transitioning to true low GWP alternatives immediately will have the greatest impact on reducing the rate of climate change.
Okay. Under the amendment, all countries will gradually phase down HFCs by more than 80% over the next 30 years and replace them with more eco-friendly alternatives. As countries around the world begin to implement the Kigali Agreement, chemical companies that manufacture a new generation of fluorinated refrigerants, the HFOs, for the world market are expected to push for these to be adopted as main alternatives to HFCs. So, what are some major developments in other parts of the world, except in China?
Large increases in the use of HFCs with a lower impact on global climate change saw Europe stay 400 below the carbon dioxide eco-F gas phase-down limit for 2016. The latest figures revealed by the European Environment Agency show that HFC consumption in the EU was even the lowest since reporting started in 2007. While the tonnage production of fluorine gases in the EU actually went up by 2% last year compared to 2015. The increase used the lower global warming HFCs, so the overall warming effect actually decreased by 2%. Also, while imports of fluorine gases in 2016 increased by 5% compared to 2015, an 80% rise in lower global warming impacting HFCs meant the rise was only 2%. Significantly, equipment importers apparently built up a reserve of quota authorizations for this year, 2017, when imports of pre-charge equipment first became subject to the phase-down. The size of this reserve is said to be approximately twice the amount of actual annual equipment imports, or 22% of the maximum available HFC amount for 2017. This can be used to cover equipment imports in 2017 and future years because acquired authorizations are not earmarked for a particular year. With the dreaded deadline approaching next year, when Europe faces a 37% cut, this accumulated reserve will reduce the overall strain on supply. Concerns were raised over the USA's backing for global HFC phase-down after the Trump administration withdrew from the Paris Climate Accord. But a U.S. State Department official has this week indicated that the USA has initiated the progress to ratify Kigali. While U.S. President Donald Trump is working out of the keenly negotiated Paris Pact, he has surprisingly decided to support the Montreal Protocol, including its 2.0 version that now includes full-blast action against climate change. He has even agreed to take a nearly 25% share of the funding of over $500 million privileged by the developed country to provide to the developing countries. Unlike the Paris Climate Accord, HFC phase-down has received broad support from U.S. industry. the world's leading refrigerant manufacturers, Honeywell and Chemours, both US companies, have invested heavily in HFC replacements with lower effect on global warming, as have the leading US air conditioning and refrigeration equipment manufacturers. Many Indian manufacturers are already experimenting and switching to low and medium GWP refrigerants. Tata Motors and Godrej Appliances are among the few companies in the world that are testing and manufacturing equipment with low GWP refrigerants. R152A and R290, respectively. African countries are in the developing country pathway of Kigali and will only start phasing down HFCs by 10% in 2029. The countries should not only start exploring existing sources of propane, carbon dioxide, and ammonia as byproducts from industrial processing to refine them as high-purity refrigerants, but should also build a regional supply chain for sustainable refrigerants. For example, a plant in Nigeria is about to start producing propane refrigerant to reduce dependency on hydrocarbon imports from Europe or China.
Thank you very much. That already brings us to the end of our webinar. Thank you very much for giving your time and insights in China's fluorochemicals market, Rebecca. And also thank you all for attending our webinar. All the information today was provided by CCM. Please have a look at the reports and newsletters of CCM and check our online platform for your own easy and effective market research in China. Be reminded, we will add a coupon to your CCM account so you can purchase your next product online with a 25% discount. If you have questions left, please feel free to write them down in the chat box and we will gather them and answer all your questions per emails to you soon. Again, thank you very much for attending and you all have a very nice day.